Thank you, Nabil. I would like to thank all my friends and co-chairs for having prepared this conference and started this conference this morning together with a collective effort, together with the Emergency Relief Coordinator and Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs of the United Nations and the Foreign Ministers of Germany, Kuwait, Norway, Qatar, and the United Kingdom. I chaired today in Brussels this conference on supporting the future of Syria and the region. We brought together representatives of over 70 countries and international organizations, international and Syrian civil society, and built on previous years' conferences in Kuwait and London. The unity of the international community is today more, not less, relevant than ever, and our common work is more, not less urgent today to bring humanitarian aid to Syrians and to put an end to the war. The conflict in Syria has brought about destruction and human suffering on an enormous scale. In particular, the conference condemned the use of chemical weapons by the government and Daesh as identified by the UN OPCW Joint Investigative Mechanism and the attacks on Khan Sheikhun yesterday. The use of chemical weapons by anyone, anywhere, must stop immediately. The international community is committed, today recommits, to working together to support a peaceful future for Syria and all Syrians in a sovereign, independent, unitary and territorial integrity country where all Syrians will be able to live in peace and security. We committed to work for a sustainable, inclusive peace while addressing the urgent humanitarian needs inside Syria and supporting the work for neighboring countries in hosting over 5 million refugees. The conference recognized that humanitarian needs of vulnerable people, especially women and children inside Syria and in the region, were never so great. We decided to respond to this humanitarian crisis, in particular in response to the UN appeals, and Stephen O'Brien will for sure be happy to give you more details on this particular issue following your questions. But we all agreed that it is important to ensure not only humanitarian support is available, but that it can be delivered. Access for this aid throughout the country has to be improved, and sieges and starvation tactics have to stop. Humanitarian assistance alone, however, cannot stop the war, cannot stop the suffering of Syria's people. What Syrians need and want is a political solution negotiated between the Syrian parties on the basis of relevant UN Security Council resolutions, including 2254 and the 2012 Geneva Communiqué. The conference highlighted clearly that any lasting solution to the conflict has to be centered on meeting the democratic aspirations and needs of the Syrian people and providing safety and security for all Syrians. Only through a genuine and inclusive political transition will there be an end to the conflict. We therefore gave our full support to the Geneva peace talks and commended and encouraged the excellent work of the UN Special Envoy Staffan de Mistura. We also stressed the role of civil society, including women's organization, that was recognized as a key part of a lasting solution. More attention was given also to the importance of achieving full compliance with the ceasefire agreed at the Astana meetings, and we recognized a special and important role and responsibility that the three guarantors hold when it comes to its full implementation, meaning Russia, Turkey, and now Iran. More needs also to be done to protect civilians and relief workers in this terrible conflict. There must be no doubt that those responsible for violations of international humanitarian law or human rights, whoever they are, will be held accountable. In particular, we condemn, as I said, the use of chemical weapons, as reported in yesterday's attack, and demand that they cease and that accountability is guaranteed through the appropriate mechanisms. The third theme of our conference was a recognition of the important role played by the neighboring countries As you know, the conference focused also on the future of the region, especially Jordan, Lebanon, and Turkey. We have agreed documents setting out mutual commitments between Lebanon and Jordan and the international community. These countries need our continued support, and they will continue to get it. Today we agreed on this all together. In particular, we need to support the economic development of neighboring countries to address the impact of the protracted crisis, as well as opportunities for Syrians to secure their livelihoods. We need to increase our work to reach the goal of getting all refugee children, vulnerable children in host communities, and children in Syria into quality education. No lost generation can be accepted. Practical steps were agreed today to make this happen. Finally, the fourth theme, we highlighted that reconstruction and international support for its implementation would be a peace dividend, a very powerful one, but only once a credible and inclusive political transition is firmly underway. We heard from representatives of civil society inside Syria who contributed with their personal testimony, sometimes very moving ones, and also with very practical and political ideas that indicated us the way on how we can act to help the people of Syria. So today's conference has agreed on an holistic approach to the Syrian crisis, the urgent needs we need to face, continuing to respond to the dire humanitarian situation by ensuring assistance and protection for those in need and support to the countries in the region. The scale of suffering is such that a political solution is more urgent than ever before. Investment of political work in supporting a resolution to the crisis is key in securing a future, any future, but especially a democratic and free future for Syria and its people. Only Syrians can make the agreement that will secure peace, but the commitment of the international community and the region that today we've taken is supporting them in achieving that peaceful future is essential, and today we stated this. Sustainable and inclusive peace in Syria for the Syrians remains the objective of all our common work. It has not always been an easy meeting today, but it has been, I think, a constructive one. I thank you very much, and I will invite my colleagues to answer to your questions, unless you have any specific question particularly.
Thank you very much. We will take questions. I see Lorne, the first.